This is Brian Sibley, and I'm here now with Tim Burton, and we're going to be talking about his new film, Alice in Wonderland. Tim, do you have a childhood memory of first reading this book?
Well, you know, what's funny is I'm from Burbank, and it wasn't really part of our culture in a funny way, but the thing that's fascinated me about it is that I knew all the characters, and I probably knew more at the beginning about Alice through bands and Tom Petty video or other artists' interpretations of the characters, writers. It's just ingrained in the culture. And that's, to me, what's fascinating about the world that Lewis Carroll created. It's just endured.
It's you.
No, it's not. McTwist brought us the wrong Alice.
It's the wrong Alice. You're absolutely Alice. I'd know you anywhere. I'd know him anywhere. Well, as you can see, we're still having tea. And it's all because I was obliged to kill time waiting for your return. You're terribly late, you know. Naughty.
Time can be funny in dreams.
Yes, of course. But now you're back, you see. And we need to get on to the Frabjous Day.
Frabjous Day!
I'm investigating things that begin with the letter M. Have you any idea why a raven is like a writing desk?
It's amazing, really, 145 years since the book was first published. And I wonder what it is that sets it aside from all those other books that appeared. I mean, what is it about these extraordinary bunch of characters that have so caught people that even if you've never read the book, you know why the Hatter's mad, you know why the Cheshire Cat grins?
Well, that's the amazing thing about it. If that book were written today, it would still be mind-blowing. And the thing that I like about it is that he created these worlds that are cryptic, and we all like to pick it apart and analyze, well, what does Mad as a Hatter mean, or, you know, all that sort of thing. Because I grew up people going, oh, this is fantasy, that's reality. This is light, that's dark. Well, he blurred those lines. He made fantasy real, you know, and that's where he just did something that bypasses your brain and goes right inside somewhere and has intrigued people for all those many years.
I'm not asking you to analyse the book, but you've said somewhere that, in a sense, what this book does is it does touch things within your own subconscious. What do you think some of those things are? What are the things that he addressed, whether he knew it or not, within us?
Just simple issues. I mean, that to me is what I liked about this structure, is like Alice is going through this weird time in her life. She doesn't feel like she fits in. She's young. It's that weird sort of crossover age. And especially if you have a rich internal life, you use fantasy to sort of deal with real issues and real problems. And that's, to me, what he shows you. There's some things that are absurd, and life is absurd, and it's best to see things not in black and white and not cut and dry.
Oh, no, stop. No, don't do that.
Hey!
Oh, dear.
And what is this?
It's a who, Majesty. This is,
From
Umbridge.
What happened to your clothes?
I outgrew them. I've been growing an awful lot lately. I tower over everyone in Umbridge. They laugh at me. So I've come to you, hoping you might understand what it's like.
My dear girl, anyone with a head that large is welcome in my court. Someone find us some clothes. Use the curtains if you must, but clothe this enormous girl.
Within a few years of this book being published, people were already interpreting it in different ways, in illustrations, lantern slides, perhaps the first precursor of film. And there have been any number of films and television productions, but all of them have run up against a real problem in the book. And obviously, when you looked at the book, you must have seen that there is, at the heart of this story, something structurally which makes it quite difficult to transfer to the screen.
Well, absolutely. Trying to be literal to the stories. You know, there've been, well, I don't know how many. I've counted over 20 at least, and they all did suffer, to me, the same problem. It's like she's a precocious little girl that's just wandering around a bunch of weirdos. So there's kind of a coldness to every version that I felt, and there was never that sort of undercurrent of a feeling in there. And, you know, that's with the Hatter. Every version is like, he's just crazy. And we tried to get inside of the character a little bit and do the research about the Hatter's disease, which was mercury poisoning, where a lot of the glue they used sort of drove a lot of the Hatters mad, which is where the term Mad as a Hatter, I guess, comes from. And so we tried to lay, this guy's got multiple personality disorder. We tried to give him a little bit of a reality to the character, I guess.
But right from the beginning, the moment Alice goes into your Wonderland, we are asked to question whether this is Alice as we know it, and indeed whether it's Wonderland as we know it, because people are not sure whether it's the right Alice or if she's the wrong Alice. So tell me, how did this idea come about that this is another Alice who's experiencing Wonderland at a different kind of time and a different period in her life?
What I loved about it is it sort of laid it out, not in literal the stories, but what the effect of Carol's work has on us, in the sense that in this movie, Alice, you know, is it a dream? Is it real? That's the struggle about who are you and where are you going? You know, am I this or am I that? Or, you know, am I some kind of mixture in between? And what I loved about it is that that's tried to capture the spirit of Carol's work in that way, rather than trying to be literal to the stories.
One of the things that intrigues me is you've done several things that nobody's ever tackled this story have ever thought about before. For one thing, the Hatter is called the Hatter, not the Mad Hatter, and Lewis Carroll never says he's the Mad Hatter. He's a Hatter who is mad. And the other thing is that when Alice eats and drinks various things, she grows and shrinks. You're the first person, I think, who's ever said what would happen to her clothes.
We just tried to give this whole thing a little bit of reality. So, for instance, when she grows and shrinks, her clothes grow and shrink with her. And, you know, she's kind of left with a kind of very long undergarment, and then she shrinks again, and Hatter makes her a little dress out of partially her larger dress.
A pinch of worm fat. Urine of the horsefly. Oh, buttered fingers. That should do it. Blow. Feel better?
Much, thank you.
Every production that I've ever heard of that's talked about doing Alice in Wonderland, rather like Scarlett O'Hara or Dorothy, there's the search for Alice. How hard was it to find somebody new, and what were you looking for?
We opened it up at the beginning to anybody, new, known people, whatever, but I felt early on interested in somebody I hadn't seen really a lot of. And when I met Mia Wasikowska, she had that quality of being a young person, but old, not really demonstrative, but very much in herself. And where you see somebody who's got sort of a rich internal life, and you sense they don't fit into society, they're uncomfortable kind of in their own skin. I mean, she was able to kind of very quietly and strongly for me project that.
How important is it for Tim Burton to have around you mates when you're making these films? Because once again, your other half is here. Johnny Depp, I think the 7th time you've worked with Johnny. Christopher Lee, Michael Gough, Alan Rickman, people you've worked with before. That repertory, is that important to you as a filmmaker?
I enjoy working with people that I've worked with because I like to see what they're going to do next. Especially, I think on a film like this where it was a lot of weird elements and things, it made it more particularly helpful to have people that I've worked with before. It's also nice to mix it up with new people. I love that, and seeing the people I've work with people that I haven't worked with. You know, it's all part of the artistic process, which is exciting.
I sense, looking at the film that you see on screen and knowing what you went through to put it on the screen, that it must have been exhausting, because what we see in the cinema is not what you saw when you were directing this picture, because most of the time all of these actors were in a studio that was surrounded by green screens and everything else was added afterwards. So how hard is it to live in a world, I mean, to quote Kermit, is it hard being green?
Well, it's sickening to be green. I mean, that is a particularly ugly green too. I don't know if you've ever seen green screen green. It actually drove the crew kind of mad, and it made us all kind of ill. It was weird. The only one that liked it was Johnny, because he kind of used the madness of, you know, acting to a tennis ball to his advantage, you know.
Tim Burton, thanks very much indeed.